Hello, and welcome to the Cordogg Experience, where I talk Ohio State Buckeyes, anything Buckeye related. Your boy talking about it. I'm talking about it from the viewpoint of the people. What are they saying in social media world? I try to talk about it, bring it here, put my spin on it, my 2 cents, and try to keep it positive. But that's what the Cordogg Experience is all about. What are the people talking about? Bring it in here, putting my spin on it. So boom, there is the Cordogg Experience. I hope you're liking it. If you are liking it, please hit that like button. If you're feeling what you're hearing, please subscribe. With that said, let's jump right into it. Ohio State, Indiana. Our Buckeyes did what they needed to do. They had to look good following last weekend's game at Northwestern. They needed to come out and look the part. I know Ryan Day always says it's not about style points, but they really needed to look the part this week, and they did. They routed Indiana, which was expected. I think we were 38-point favorites or so. So they did what they needed to do. They looked every bit like the number 2 team in the nation. So let's just get right into the numbers. Big thing coming out of Northwestern was the running game. We need to be able to run the ball. Can we run the ball? We cannot run the ball. They needed to look good running the ball, period. Regardless of the opponent, regardless, they needed to look a lot better running the ball. They did that. Mayan Williams, he had him a very good half. He was well on his way to 200 plus yards rushing at the time that he went down. We'll get into that, but the offensive line looked good. They opened up the holes. Mayan Williams looked healthy as he's going to be, and he looked good hitting the holes. So the running game was going. Of course, like I said, my boy is on his way to a big day, and boom, gets his ankle rolled up on. Unfortunate, and it's just been the injury bug with our running backs. We just can't keep them. We can't seem to get them both through a game this season. We just can't get them both. Between him and Henderson, one's healthy, the other one's not. Henderson healthy, Williams isn't. This week it was Williams' turn, and so we just cannot get him healthy. So when he went down, it's like, oh man, what are we going to do? You know, we got Hayden, the freshman. Oh yeah, we got the Swiss Army knife. You know. So what are we going to do? You see Maya getting carted off the field, and people are already posting in this stuff. Oh man, is he hurt? What's wrong? What's going on? What are we going to do now? And Dallin like, I got this. Xavier, yo man, I got this. We got y'all. Ohio State. It's always that next man up mentality, and they came in, and the running game kept going. They missed a bit. I think at the end of the day, we were well over 300 yards rushing, I believe. So the running game looked good. Hayden looked good. And you already know he was in for a bigger role anyway, because his first touchdown came when you saw him when down in the first touchdown. Hayden got, Mayan asked for a breather. He was tired. He signaled out, and very next play, Hayden takes it in. So Hayden was set to have a bigger role this week against Indiana, regardless of what's going on with Hayden. He was going to get his touches. Again, unfortunate when Mayan got hurt. Hopefully, it's not serious. We'll touch on that again later on. Before this is over with, we'll circle back to Mayan and his injury and just the injury bug in general at our running back position. But Xavier came in. Y'all saw the big run he had, so we were prepared. Don't think Ryan Day was expecting Mayan to get hurt, but the way this season's gone, you had to be ready, and he was. Xavier, he's played it before. This wasn't the first time he was asked to go in there and do some spot duty at running back, and he made it worth his while. That run, the run Xavier put out there was straight. I think it was his only rush. You run like that, that's the only rush you need. Even if Mayan was in the game, he ain't making that type of run that Xavier Johnson made. So hats off to the young man. It's just good to see individuals like Xavier excel and flourish and get his recognition. He's been in the system, a former walk-on, and he's doing this thing. He's getting his opportunity and making the most of it. And he certainly did that against Indiana. Again, Dallin Hayden came in after Mayan got hurt. He put over 100 yards rushing. So that's, again, a testament to the desire or the willingness to stick with the running game despite the injuries. You're gonna have to rely on your folks to step up. We always got that mentality, next man up here at Ohio State, and that proved out basically throughout the whole season in terms of our running back situation. They just Henderson, Williams, they just not have been able to stay healthy this year. So what are you gonna do if you just can't keep your folks healthy? Great production running the ball. Again, this is what we were looking for following that Northwestern game. You had to come in and show you could run the ball, regardless of the opponent. You had to show you were able to run the ball, and I think they made an effort to get back to that, to running the ball. And still, they ran the ball. We had the yardage. We were grounding out the game. People stepped up to do what they needed to do, and still, social media world. I'm still not happy. I don't know what it's going to take to get some of these folks happy, but they just were not. Some of them still not happy. People are like, hey, we ran the ball. You guys happy now? Well, it was Indiana. So what's Indiana? I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what they want. Yes, it was Indiana. They did what you wanted them to do, what you've been asking them to do. Look good against a team like Indiana when they finally do it. Well, it was Indiana. At least give them the credit. Give them some credit that they look good. They got the running game back on track. Regardless of the opponent, they got the running game back on track, and the running game looked good. And you got to take into consideration they were out Henderson. Williams went out early in the game. I guess he was on his way to a 200-yard game. They really didn't miss a beat. At the end of the day, Dallin came in, got over 100 yards, as I mentioned. Then Xavier came in. He had his big run. And this is just the testament of the depth at Ohio State in terms of, we've seen it at receiver. Jackson been down, and the other guys have stepped up. We're seeing it here at running back. We lost Evan Pryor before the year even began. I think he was situated to have a bigger role this season. We lost him before the season even began. Then, Henderson started having his issues, and Mayans, they just been in and out of the lineup all year, and we haven't missed a beat. We're still one of the top rushing teams in the country, and so we haven't missed a beat along those lines. So I'm happy with what they did against Indiana. Of course, the injuries. One of the things that immediately started going up on some of the social media things was still Chambers back there. I'm like, no, hold on, no, leave still Chambers alone. Let him stay on defense. Why you want to mess with the defense? The defense is playing good. At least let still Chambers. He's getting more and more comfortable a linebacker. Let the young man stay a linebacker. We got people at running back ready to step up. I didn't see that Chip wasn't going to play until later on in the thing, but we were missing Chip. Trey Adam, I think he was going to be our third running back, but he missed that game as well. But still, Xavier Johnson and Dallin Hayden, they stepped up. But no, keep Chambers, keep him at linebacker. We don't need to bring Chambers over. He is doing good and flourishing well at linebacker. Let's leave our defense alone and let our defense do what they've been doing this year. So I was happy with the running game. Opponent aside, I was happy with the running game. And if you need to, sit Henderson, sit Williams against Maryland. I don't see us needing a big need to have them in there. Save them for Michigan. Save us from Michigan. I don't think their injuries are long-term from what I was reading that following the game. They intimated it's not long-term. At the end of the game, you saw Mayan back out there. He was smiling. Even though he had the boot on, he was smiling. So he didn't look like he was too too beat up over the fact he went out. So it seemed like he might be able to go, and I think Ryan Day confirmed that later on when he had to address the press that it's not long term and these guys could be back. Hold him out against Maryland if you can. Save him for Michigan. We got hopefully Chip's healthy. I don't know why he was held out, but go with Hayden, go with Xavier Johnson, and if Chip's available, put Chip Trey in there and let Henderson and Mayan rest up and get ready to go. So happy with the running game. Happy with the running game. I don't care who the opponent was. They needed to do that in the running game, and they did. Kudos to them. The passing game, we chronicled the passing game. Last week, Norfolk, you could not throw the ball in those wind, like you just couldn't do it. It snowed yesterday, but snow's not the wind. You can throw in the snow as long as it ain't windy, but you can't throw in the wind. And Stroud got back on track throwing the ball yesterday. He's throwing the ball around, doing his thing, and he looked like the C.J. Stroud from earlier this season when he was just connecting. Another 5 TD game for C.J. Stroud, so he was on. Probably should have had more. Fleming dropped it. I know some of y'all beating up on Fleming. He dropped it, sure. About hit him in the worst place, his chest and his hands, but happens every now and then to the best of them. But Stroud in the passing game was back on track, and they did good. They did what they needed to do against considering an inferior opponent, which Indiana was, and they looked good. Stroud put up the numbers again. Looked good. He is tossing them around, distributing it all over the field. Kate Stover, that boy says he's just a. I thought it was going to be hard placing Jeremy Rucker, but Kate Stover has stepped right in, and he's been a beast at the tight end position. He's bringing that defensive mentality to the offensive side of the ball, and you seen him. He just run over people. I love Kate Stover. He's one of my favorite players on the team, and got the 5 TDs. So. Again, the passing game was on point. Our receivers were on point. Speaking of just, what can you say about Marvin Harrison that ain't already been said? Y'all saw the catch. It was just for a first down, but y'all saw the athleticism, the catch. The dude is a freak of nature. I didn't think anyone was good. I thought when Jackson went down, it's like, I know Harrison is good, but we gonna miss. Not to say we ain't missing them, but Marvin Harrison is a freak. Cause when I saw the play in real time, y'all know the catch. Y'all watch, y'all look at that. Y'all see the catch. When I saw that catch in real time, the Indiana coach was like he was out of bounds. I thought he was out of bounds. Like no way in the world he came down in bounds. But then they showed the replay, the slow motion replay. Like, oh no, this foot ain't gonna make it. I'm gonna use my other foot instead. And he made it look so effortlessly. The dude is like some Gumby. I mean, just how can you explain that catch and what this dude can do? If he gets 2 hands on it, I think they someplace they were saying mentioning during the broadcast that he has not dropped the ball this season that was in his catch radius. And that's insane. And you see a catch like that, it's like, yeah, I can understand why. That dude does. It's amazing. It's amazing the stuff that he's able to do. And he's only a sophomore. We get him back for a year. That's what's great. But that catch was amazing. He is amazing. And again, our receiving core just goes to show how deep our receiving core is and how amazing it is that you want to say you missing Jackson, and I know we're missing him, but it's hard to see we're missing him when you still look at the production we're putting up in the passing game. But but that catch, I can't get over that catch. That catch was just outstanding. I remember if we knew mid-air, I can't get this foot. I can't get my outside foot down. I'm just gonna leave it up just a little bit. A few milliseconds longer, and I'm gonna use my inside foot and make that catch. I wonder if that going through his head when he leaped up. Like I can't come down with this foot, so I'm gonna use this foot. You be able to process that and do all that within a matter of milliseconds. That's just outstanding. I don't care what else said. I've not seen a receiver better than him this year. Period. If he doesn't win the Blitnikoff, like Joe Clapp was saying, something's wrong. Because no one can do what this dude. He may not have some of the numbers, and that's the weather. You couldn't throw against Northwestern, and we just got a bunch of receivers. It's like some of these college teams, they got the one primary receiver who's putting up crazy numbers. But if he doesn't win the Blitnikoff, I ain't got nothing else to say about that. But Stroud, he looked good. Got receivers like Marvin Harrison making you look good. It was just awesome. But the catch of the day, the moment of the day, the feel-good moment of the day was our man Cameron Babb catching his TD pass. You see that in real time, live time, the emotion that came out following the catch. And I don't care about the score. It could have been 99, like IMG Academy beat 98-0. It could have been 98-0. Just to see that young man get on the field and contribute, knowing what he has been through, 4 ACL surgery since he's been on campus, 5th-year senior, could never get healthy. I believe he came in at the same time as Olave, Wilson, some of the receivers back then. I think he was even higher rated than Chris Olave, and just injury after injury after injury. And to persevere so to persevere the way he's had and stick in there, you know how important he is to the team, because you saw the outpouring. You saw it. I mean, just look at it. You just saw the outpouring, and they didn't care. They took a penalty down, like Stroud said, I don't care. Y'all stay back. Let my man do what he needs to do. And that's what sports is all about. That's when people say the brotherhood, that's what it's all about. They know how important this guy is. They gave him the block O number because that's how much he means to them. And it's sort of similar. I always think about Mario McCall last year, what he meant to the team. It's different circumstances. This is a young man that was healthy, could have transferred, and he stayed at Ohio State because he loved the brotherhood. And you got a great example of that yesterday of Cameron Babb and the brotherhood. Everyone up and down the sidelines was happy for the young man. You even had some Indiana. Look back, you had some Indiana people clapping because they know different teams, the opposing teams, you're in the thing of the game, but they know. This man, they know what he's been through. You don't think they know what's going on with other teams and around the other conferences? You had a couple Indiana players clapping. They weren't mad. They know what this young man's been through, and to see that moment, to see everyone come to him and embrace him, and the outpouring and support and love for him, you can't beat that in sports. That's why I say sports is important. I think everyone on this site knows how sports is important. You got young ones playing sports. That's why sports is important. Teach you lifelong lessons that you can take anywhere in your life. But that moment, the feel-good moment of the day, of the game, of the weekend, was that moment there for Cameron Babb. The stuff he's gone through and the way he's persevered and the way his team reacted to him was classic. Glad I was able to see that in real time. But again, the offensive side, they did what they needed to do. They looked great doing it. I don't care if it's Indiana. They did what they needed to do, because they didn't, you would have been hearing all the people criticizing them. That's not some of the stuff that they said last week. But they came out, they did what they needed to do. They looked like the number 2 team offensively. They got on track offensively, and they looked the part on offense. It's still so offensively on point. They got to keep it rolling now, so they can do the same thing against Maryland. Another team they should be able to do this stuff against is against Maryland, so we'll see how that plays out. On the offensive side of the ball, defensively, the defense, I'm just so happy we got a defense this year. The defense look good again. They look great. They look real good. I mean, in the end, they switched up quarterbacks. Your boy came in. Was it Williams, I believe, came in, moved him down the field. He's a running quarterback, a little different than Bazelak. He came in, got some little runs in there. It's always difficult having to deal with a running quarterback. It just is, especially in college. Dual threat quarterbacks they're difficult to handle a lot. On many occasions, they're just difficult to handle. He came in, moved him right down the field, scrambled away, kept the thing open, made the big pass play, and a couple of plays later, I believe they were in his end zone. But this is why I love the defense this year. Is why I think Jim Knowles is so glad they made that hire. Like someone commented out throughout the day, Jim Knowles is a beast. He is. He made the adjustments. Right? They didn't completely shut him down, but he didn't. He wasn't going up and down the field like he was. I think they had well over 5, 7, 6 or 7 3-and-outs. We put them on lockdown. And of course, you had the muff punt in the end of the game and they had a short field. But other than that, our defense was on point. They were swarming the ball. Eichenberg, he was all over the place. God, that dude, in that middle linebacker spot, he's just tack quick. Love me some Tommy Eichenberg. Love his game, what he's doing this year. And it's hard to believe that this is the same person that folks wanted to run off the field a few seasons back. Last season. So it's just night and day, the difference in this defense. The block punt, Lathan Ransom, I told you he's been my mid-season players that I've hyped up on outside of Eichenberg and JTT. Lathan Ransom in the secondary has been, to me, in my opinion, this year has been the best secondary player, even more so than Hickman. And he had the block punt. So again, our defense has been on point. Top 10 in several categories, top 15 in the others. Our defense is on point, and they'll get tested next week. Maryland has a better offense than Indiana, but our defense is on track to be really, really, really good. And like Jim Knowles keeps saying, I haven't even got all my stuff in yet. So maybe he's saving something for Michigan. I hope so. And we'll see how they look against Maryland. But I'm very happy with how we looked offensively. Very happy with how we looked defensively. We needed to come out and look good. And I think for the most part, we did that on both sides of the ball. They looked like the number 2 team in the nation. I think they sort of going to silence some of those critics this week following that performance, which quite frankly, they needed to do. I know Ryan Day doesn't say it's always about style points, but sometimes it's about style points. You need to look the part, and I think he looked the part. The team in general looked the part. The offense looked good. I think again, Stroud came in, ran the ball some more. My boy didn't get the results from last week. If he had stayed in bounds, if he had a size 9, maybe instead of size 10 or 11 shoe, he had him another big gainer. But he was just that little tippy toe stepped on the sideline on that one run. But I think he registered 4 or 5. I think it was 4 runs. But him running in general to me is just, I think it will open up some stuff. And then he continued to do it. And he even said, and I'm glad to hear him say this because I seen a quote somewhere that said, "I'll die for this team." And I hope that is true. Because he may have to run some more against Michigan. If bad, he may have to tote the rock some against Michigan. So I hope he's ready to do that because he may have to. And I think he smiled a couple times when some of those runs. So I think he's getting used to the fact that, hey, I may have to run, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I got some pads on. These hits ain't as bad now. I know what y'all saying. We don't want him running. No, I don't want him running just for the sake of running. But when it's there, a couple of designs throughout, just one design run, just one. They did it once in the goal line, and Indiana was ready for it. But just let us know it's in your repertoire, so they ain't just always gonna crash down on our running backs. But I was happy to see that. I was happy for him to make that comment that I'm gonna do whatever necessary for us to get our win on. So if he has that mentality moving forward and he keeps playing well, again, I think if he finishes the season undefeated, looks decent against Michigan, he doesn't have to light the world up, just decent, limit your turnovers, I think the Heisman is for him to lose. Again, some of the other contenders, I think, fell out. I think they were trying to hype up Bo Nickel, but they lost. So I think as soon as they mention someone, they lose. They're trying to hype up Hooker. He went out and had a terrible game against Georgia. They're trying to hype up the next guy, Bo Nickel, out of Oregon. He lost against Washington. So say what you want about these other guys. Stroud is still the Heisman favorite. Put up some numbers again. Now the next person they're trying to hype up is Drake May out of North Carolina. Like I said, he's good, but he has to play all 4 quarters. Stroud really doesn't. So Drake May's numbers, they're equivalent to Stroud's, but if Stroud had played all 4 quarters for a good portion of the year, his numbers would be better than Drake May's. But that's the next person is Drake May. They're trying to hype up, and that's just the media in general. You pick the guys up here, and then you spend all season trying to knock them down. So it is what it is. But Stroud to me is the odds-on favorite to win, barring any spectacular collapse against Michigan, and then he continues to look good and play well. For the rest of the CFP and the rankings, I don't see much change going on. Georgia, they look. Mississippi State, good team. They look good. They won. That's all. They won. They look like the number 1 team. So hats off to Georgia. They look good. Michigan won. A bad Nebraska team was close, and Michigan does what. You gotta give it to them. They second half, they turn it on in the second half. I don't know if they're wearing folks down, but they put a beat down on folks in the second half. So, and again, Michigan looked good. TCU, honestly, I thought TCU was going to lose to Texas. I had Texas winning that one in the close game because Texas was at home, but hats off to TCU. They went in there and they got the win. So those are your top 4 teams. I don't see the order changing in the committee's eyes, but in my opinion, I'll flip-flop TCU and Michigan. And it's not my hate for Michigan. TCU just has a better resume. They do. They play more top teams, and not to bring up some of the. Well, y'all know what Desmond. He's the new Mark May, but he always be cracking on Ohio State's schedule. But Michigan has he looked at Michigan's schedule and who they played, especially in the non-conference? That's why I'm so glad Notre Dame did what they did against Syracuse, and that win looks not so much now than Syracuse went on a 3-game losing streak now. And then what they did to Clemson. So that looks good for us, and thank God they held on against Navy. I forgot all about that game when I saw the first half score. Damn, they ended up Navy came all the way back, and Notre Dame was hanging on, but they won, which still looks good for Ohio State. And I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because Ohio State and Michigan still got to play each other, so that's going to play its way out. But to keep criticizing Ohio State's schedule, especially from someone like Desmond, when has he looked at Michigan's schedule? But anyway, that'll play itself out. And then I said TCU and Texas. I thought Texas was going to win the game, but they didn't. And no thing about the Texas thing before I move on is just our fans cannot get over the fact that Quinn Ewers transferred to Texas. They won't leave the young man alone. Like, he wasn't here that long for y'all to be so infatuated with what Quinn is doing at Texas. I for one, I never thought he was going to play here anyway. When you look at our quarterback room, why are you so worried about what he's doing at Texas? Our quarterback room is stocked. I'm surprised he even said he was going to come here. Why? Just let the young man, let's leave the young man alone, all right? Our quarterback, I can see where our quarterback room was left barren, and you'd be mad that he left, but why are you going to be harping on what Quinn's doing at Texas? We got a 5-star in the wings in Kyle McCord. We got Devin Brown. Oh, we got the new the kid out of Arizona coming in. Our quarterback room is going to be fine without Quinn being here. Just let the young man, he do what he did, what he needed to do, the best fit his circumstances. Again, I was surprised when he committed to come here. I'm surprised he stayed as long as he did. I'm not surprised he left. So why y'all harping on what he's doing at Texas? Let the young man be. That's my Quinn Ewers take in Texas. Good for him. He did what he feels best for him, and so that's just let the young man be. All right, let him be. Let him be. For how the rest of the CFP rankings played out the rest of the day, like I said, the top candidates for the most part are the top four anyway to me. Got Georgia, Ohio State. My world, TCU would be 3, Michigan 4, and it's not Michigan. Hey, I just think TCU's they played a better schedule. If you're going by resumes, hell, some would say their resume's better than Ohio State's, but Ohio State's still the only team to win by double digits every single game there. But and then Tennessee at 5, and then the shakeup has been just the Pac-12. Pac-12, I think, took a hit yesterday with Oregon losing. Some folks even called Washington beating them. And it's the Indiana quarterback. Thinking of that, Indiana. Penix gave us some trouble a couple years ago, but Penix up at Washington, he led Washington Huskies to a win over Oregon. That's a big hit against the Pac-12. And then UCLA lost to Arizona. All right, I didn't see that result till this morning. So again, they're riding on USC now, and SC won. They beat Colorado, but they lost their top running back. Talking about running injuries to your running back, I think Travis Dye, the Oregon transfer to SC, he went down. Unfortunate injury. I always hate to see injuries, but that's the unfortunate injury in their running back room. So we'll see how that plays out in the Pac-12, how that affects their championship, because they don't do divisions in the Pac-12. So it's the best 2 teams, and they're going to match up. So I don't know how the committee's going to see that, depending on which team wins out. I think for the Pac-12, you got everything hanging on USC to win out. So the 2-loss Oregon, I don't think it's going to do it now. I just don't believe it is. So their hats is on SC, and the way it's set up, 2 best teams playing as opposed to divisions, SC might get beaten their thing because you're making them play the next best team. Which brings us to the Big Ten. Like I said, SC may lose in their championship if they don't lose to UCLA next. I think they got UCLA coming up. So I don't know how the Pac-12 is going to work out, how that's going to spin out. Even if they get past UCLA, they may have to play Utah again. They may have to play making them play the next best team. If they win, fine, that's to boost their resume. But they lose, Pac-12's out. So I don't know. So that brings us again to the Big Ten, because we go by divisions right now, and everyone knows the East is top heavy. The East is stronger. Has been for several seasons now. And we thought we knew who was going to be the West representative, but the last few weeks, Illinois laid an egg. They've been very pedestrian, and that race is wide open. So our divisional, depending on, we're going to say Ohio State's going to beat Michigan. So we'll see who Ohio State's going to play in the conference championship game. Okay, we're going to assume Ohio State's going to play. I don't want to jinx us. We're going to assume it's going to be Ohio State. But there's a good chance their opponent from the West, be it Ohio State or Michigan, there, I cleaned it up. Rather be Ohio State or Michigan. Their opponent out of the West might be unranked. Might be an unranked team. So what do we do moving forward with divisions? And a lot of folks have already called for getting away with the divisions. But I don't see why you'd want to do that. To me, that hurts the You can make the argument either way. Why you want to make your team, like the Big Ten, to me, I can see why some conferences, I see why some conferences would do that. Because you need to bolster your resume, because you're never going to compete with the SEC. And to me, you're never going to compete with the Big Ten. Like those the champions out of those 2 leagues are going to be automatic regardless. Why jeopardize your team by having them play the next best team? I don't think the SEC is ever going to scrap divisions because it doesn't make sense. They don't need to. In my estimation, the Big Ten doesn't need to. In particular, when you got SC and UCLA coming on board Those teams are going to bolster depending on how they rework the division. And for the record, I think they should keep divisions because I think you just muddy up the waters if you're going to keep making your best team play, have to do a rematch with the next best team. The SEC protects their teams. I give that to them. They protect their teams. They make sure their best team is in there, and they let the chips fall because they're the SEC, and they don't need to scrap division. To me, I think the Big Ten doesn't need to scrap divisions, but we'll see how that plays out. Once USC and UCLA get to divisions, I think you should move one of the teams over. Maybe let Illinois come as we get the Illabuck going again. Maybe move Michigan State. I don't know, but right now the East is top heavy. I don't think you should scrap the divisions if you're the Big Ten. I don't think you need to. I think your conference champions are going to go regardless, especially with the expansion. Why, if we're honestly going to expand to 12 teams, I don't see why you would scrap divisions. Let your East winner play the West winner, and like I said, 2-3 years from now, it could be Ohio State against SC or however that works out. If Nebraska gets the right coach in there, they're a powder keg waiting to happen, depending on what coach they bring in. So I think the West has the potential to be strong, just as strong as the East moving forward, if you get the right pieces in place. Right pieces in place at certain schools. I think Nebraska could very well. They just got to get the right coach. You got USC, UCLA, in particular USC. I can see an undefeated SC playing an undefeated Ohio State. Boom. And you have that Alabama-Georgia comparison going on that's been going on the last couple of years in the SEC. So I don't think we should scrap divisions even this year, even though this year is a mess because most likely we're going to be playing an undefeated, unranked opponent. The East champions going to be playing an unranked opponent out of the West. Is that going to hurt this year? I don't think so, being that both Ohio State and Michigan are in the top 4. So I don't think it's going to hurt us this year. But moving forward, I just don't see a need to scrap the division. So interested to hear y'all's views and takes on divisions moving forward. Do you think we should scrap the divisions once SC and UCLA come on board, or stay the status quo because you don't feel we need to scrap divisions? Let our East champion play the West champion, because I'm assuming the West is going to be a lot stronger once SC and UCLA are on board. But that's my take. That's my take on the whole thing. Again, so heading into week 3 CF College Football Playoff rankings: Georgia, Ohio State. I have TCU. Committee's probably going to keep Michigan, Tennessee, LSU. My top 4 of those: Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, Michigan, then Tennessee and LSU. They didn't look good, but who you gonna move in front of LSU? Had Alabama lost to Ole Miss, I could have seen pitting SC in front of. No, they ain't never gonna do that. But those are my top 6, and then USC is the last hope for the Pac-12. But we'll see how it plays out. Ohio State needs to be ready. For Maryland, we'll see what the week 3 rankings will look like. And until then, if you like this segment, please hit the like button. If there's anything you heard that you want to comment on, be it Xavier Johnson and his day, be it the running back situation, be it the passing situation. This C.J. Stroud, your Heisman favorite still. Jim Knowles in the defense. Any concerns about the Michigan game coming up, please leave it in the comments. Hit the like button. Again, if you're feeling what you're hearing, please subscribe. Trying to build this up, and like I said, join me on my journey as I build it up. When I was much younger, before I knew what all the MLM stuff was, I was dabbled in the MLM stuff, thinking it was a legit business and legit stuff or whatnot, trying to get to the top of the top. I what the pyramid scheme stuff was, but trying to get to the top where the people were at the top. The only thing they really taught out of that stuck with me all these years later now was just gotta Pump the well. It's like pumping the well. Pump the well. Pump the well. Back in the old days when they'd be on the farm, pumping the well, pumping the well. Just get that little trickle, the little drops, little trickle, little drops. But you keep pumping, and then the stream gets a little more heavy, a little more steadier. You keep pumping, pumping, and then boom, and then it's the rush. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pump that well, trying to build this up. So again, if you like what you're hearing, please hit the subscribe button. If just like any comments in general, please like to hit the like button, subscribe, and help me grow this thing. Other than that, until next time, see you after the week 3 rankings come out. Thank you again for taking the time out to look. OHIO, go Bucks.